it by the end of this weekend. I mean, Sunday night 9, if I give a time, will that be possible? If I provide a link and then what all should be there in that instructions, if it is given, can that be done?
Yes, sir.
In that case, information to, information for how to submit the schema or design document, what should be there, and then where to upload. That message I will post it after this class. Okay, so please submit that document by the end of this week, and then we will see how to go about the final part. Okay. Okay, so then let's start. Second. Object-oriented database. So the same reasons why we thought about object-oriented programming languages, similar kind of a reason is what pushed for object-oriented databases. So we have seen the traditional RDBMS at one side with a very rigid structure and a very a specific language called a structured query language for accessing data and then retrieving and updating and sort of things. That is one side. Then we have seen that complex data types may not be able to handle by RDBMS, so we need to have better mechanisms. So that's why we started thinking about what you call other types of databases, and it came unstructured databases like document-oriented databases. Under that two category, we have seen MongoDB and XML. One is a pure document-oriented databases. The other one is kind of a key-value pair combination. So, and then documents are generated out of key-value pair kind of things. That is what another thing what we have done. Okay, and distributed databases don't consider that as a separate type of database. Rather, any of these databases can be extended into distributed nature. Okay, so you have a relational DBMS, you can build a distributed RDBMS structure. You have a XML kind of a structure, you can build a distributed XML based database application. You have a MongoDB, you can extend that to distributed architecture. Or you can even combine these three things or multiple different types of databases into a distributed architecture. In one site, I have an RDBMS, another site, I have a NoSQL database like MongoDB, another place, I have a pure document-oriented databases like XML. Fourth place, I may have an object-oriented database or whatever type of databases we have seen, NoSQL databases we have seen. That is quite possible. Okay, so that's what the picture what we have done. Now, the final stage is one more type of databases we will discuss, that is object-oriented databases. Tell me why we actually thought about object-oriented databases when oriented or procedure-oriented databases were working perfectly fine. What was the need for an object-oriented database? Why C++ was evolved? Anyone, please?
Sir, objects are more easier way to show the real world entities. Sir. Like most real world entities can be modeled using object oriented approach.
Yeah, see, like real world entities were not really captured using a procedure oriented approach. Main reason always thinks about how to solve the problem, not about what to do with the data. Simple reason, we were more focusing on what you call um, procedures than the content. So if you look into the data what you are working in, whether it is students height or whether it is students marks, if somebody says that average needs to be calculated, it will just calculate the average. I mean, there is the procedure is what matters. Content, what type of data you work on it, what is that you are doing with that, that is never a concern in case of a procedure oriented approaches. That's why object oriented approach came into picture. So similar reason, if I'm having an object-oriented, full-fledged object-oriented languages available at one side. I want to have same objects needs to be handled or treated um, in the form of a database. That means in case of MongoDB, you have seen that MongoDB is developed using C++ kind of a structure or largely C++. So what happens is MongoDB was able to integrate to object-oriented programming platforms easily. That means from MongoDB, it was easy to connect to, or from an object-oriented programming language, it was easy to interact with MongoDB. That was one good reason. But even in that case, what way MongoDB was storing information was one format, and these object-oriented programming languages were using typical object-oriented structure like what you call objects, instances, classes, and other things. So there is some mismatch is there in that case. Now, the object-oriented databases will bridge that gap also. That means you deal with objects, instances, classes, member functions, and other things in an object-oriented programming language. Similar terminology or similar constructs are used in case of an object-oriented database also. Okay. So that's the idea about an object-oriented database. So traditional database applications in data processing had conceptually simple data types. Okay. If you look into the types of data, what Oracle normally deals with, this is hardly 5 or 6, or largely saying 10 to 16 is what maximum, not more than that. So complex data types have grown more important in recent years. Like address can be viewed as a simple string or a separate attribute for each part, or it can be like a set of composite attributes. Okay. Now, when you have, it's like a complex structure, and then considering that this itself needs to be considered as a valid entity, then it is difficult with the existing databases. So that's how you thought, an object-oriented database will be possible, or probably that is better. Now, here also we use the term data model, which is an object-oriented terminology. Now, in case of an object-oriented database, the term data model means equivalent to schema or ER diagram. That means your design. Okay. So, to understand an object model, we need to understand what are the terminologies associated with that. So, we will start with the term object. It corresponds to an entity in the ER model. If I map it with RDBMS, an object in an object-oriented database is equivalent to an entity in an ER model. The object-oriented paradigm is based on encapsulating code and data related to an object into a single unit. If you remember the basic concept of encapsulation, you bind data and functions together. So what all functions can work on it? That functions are bind to that data, and then they together is called as a class. The object-oriented data model is a logical data model like ER model. Adaptation of the object-oriented programming paradigm to database system. That means what you have done is the same concepts what you have seen in C++ is being taken into your object-oriented databases. So the same concept of inheritance, the same concept of polymorphism, all those basic building blocks of object-oriented approach, you will find in an object-oriented database also. If you look into an object, okay, an object was associated with set of variables that contain the data for the object. The value of each variable is itself is an object. It can be a set of messages to which the objects respond. Each message may have 0 or more parameters. Set of methods, each of which is a body of code to implement a message. a method returns a value as the response to the message. Okay. So three things you will find as part of an object: set of variables, set of messages, and set of methods. We are familiar with the first and last, may not be very much familiar with the concept of messages. Okay. It is like an interface what you are building to a particular class. Like these are the available functions what you can use. That is what you are trying to say with it. Okay. So those are the messages to which the object can respond. So I can say in programming language concepts, those are the functions which I can work, and how to implement that is what methods does. Messages and responses provide the only external interface to an object. Okay. Physical representation of the data is visible only to the implementer. So again, abstraction is being how it is done is not known to the outside world. There are interfaces in the form of messages and methods or responses. So these messages and response will define the behavior of that particular object. The term message does not necessarily imply physical message passing. Messages can be implemented as a procedure invocation. That is what I said. If you remember the concept of interfaces in Java, then you will be able to understand it. Interfaces contain all abstract methods. That means there are no body of that methods. Only it says that this is the return type, this is the method name, these are the parameters what you can use. So it says that these are the set of functions what you can apply on this particular class. Same way, these messages also will be like a procedure invocation. So it will say what can be done on that particular object. Messages and methods. Methods are programs written in general purpose language with the following features. Only variables in the object itself may be referenced directly. Data in of the other objects are referenced only by sending messages. Simple, same thing. Like whatever is there in the class that can be directly accessed. Anything other than that is asked through your normal method invocations procedure. Okay. Methods can be read only or update methods. Read only methods means you have get and set methods you have studied in Java, right? What are get and set methods in Java? Students, what are get and set methods in Java? Have you studied that? Are you guys there?
Yes, sir.
What is get method and what is set method?
It is for encapsulation, sir.
Okay.
Get to get the value of the variable name, and set is to assign the name variable.
Yes, same thing. So similar way, there the get methods are read only. It never changes the value of the variables in the class. Similar way, here also methods means they are read only or update. We instead of calling getting and setting, we are calling them as read only and update. Read only methods are equivalent to get. It will fetch the details of that variable and then display it to the outside world. Whereas update, you will be able to modify it. So every attribute of that entity is represented by a variable and two methods, one to read and the other one to update the attribute will be present in your what you call object. So for every, I mean, why we are talking about entity and attribute, because we are trying to match it with relational DBMS. So in an RDBMS concept, an entity consists of attributes. So similar way, here we said an object is equivalent to an entity. Suppose if I say person is an object and name of the person, age of the person, salary of the person, and probably weight of the person are four attributes we are defining. Corresponding to that, there should be four variables in my class and there should be 8 methods. For each variable, 2 methods. One for reading the value, that is a read-only method, and the one for updating it. Similar objects are grouped into a class. Each such object is called an instance of its class. Same concepts what you have studied in object-oriented programming language. Objects are instances of the class. So similar objects. I have person P1, I have person P2, person P3, person P4. All the four objects, when I look, they all have name, age, salary, and probably weight as four parameters for features of that particular objects. Now, since all of them are the same thing, we decided to have a person class, and P1, P2, P3, P4, all the four objects are instances of the class. All objects in a class have the same variables with same types. So name, age, weight, and salary, all four will be of the same name, same type. Same message interface. That means the functions, 8 functions what we have defined for P1 will be applicable to P2 also, P3 also, and P4 also. And methods. How to retrieve that, how to get this, how to do this. The code, the function definition is what method. They may differ in the values assigned to variables because P1's name will not be the same as P2's name. That can be different. But they all will have these many common features. Classes are analogous to entity sets in the ER model. Okay. Now we will see a definition, class definition. It's almost same as your object-oriented programming languages, either Java or C++. If you remember, then it is quite easy. So you can say string name, string address, string date, start date, int salary, int annual salary, string get name, string get address, int set address, int employment length. Okay, so if you look into it, string name, string address, date, start date, and int salary, 4 parameters. I should say these are the 4 attributes of the entity employee. Now here I have objects and corresponding variables, and corresponding to each one I should be having a get and set methods, but here we have not gone to that level. We just mentioned few only here. Int annual salary is salary, monthly is given, you multiply that and then do it. String get name, that is to retrieve the name and display it. String get address, same, and then set address and employment length, that is how long. Start date, you know, today's date, you know, you will be able to calculate employment length. Okay. Now, if you look into the methods, Now messages you see, those are the interfaces what is available. So those functions you can use it. Now if you look into the methods, int employment length. So int employment length was shown as a message there. That means how now we will do that. That is what is written here. Return today minus start date. Start date is part of that variable. Or today is a built-in function available. If you say, then today's date minus start date will give you number of days which you can convert into some formats and then show that as the employment length. Set address, what you are saying is you are passing a new address variable. So the address string, what is available there, will be overwritten with this new content. So methods are basically implementation parts. Messages are nothing but abstract functions, and variables are equivalent to your normal variables or member variables of that particular class. So you may get a scenario, you will have to write down the object model for it in the exam. I hope you are aware about the fact that your exams are going to be offline.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Which means that you will have to write down. So we will not have any objective type questions. Rather, it will be all written types. So XML DTDs, XML schemas, MongoDB codes, or distributed database definitions and other things. And even the object-oriented questions will be descriptive questions. So which means that you will have to write. So make sure that you are familiarized with this kind of a structure. This is an example of a class definition.
Sir, the written exam will be of 100 marks only, sir, because it will be converted into 13 lab project based.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very sure about that, whether it will be 100 marks for every course. It's been mentioned like that. But long back when we did this course in offline mode, we used to have 2-hour exam for 60 marks. So this time how it will be, it will be followed by the guidelines. So I'm not very sure about it, because when I offered this course, um, I mean, no, not that also that time also was, it was an offline, sorry, online. But previous to that, the project-based elective course offered in offline, that point of time, it was a 2-hour, 60 marks exam, because you are reducing to 30. Whereas the other exams of which where you have weightage is 35 or 50 or something, it was a 3-hour exam is what I remember. But I'm not sure about this time's rules. Even I saw a mail saying that it is 100 marks exam. So in that case, you will be having a 100 marks 3-hour exam for this course also, which will be reduced to 30 marks.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so please familiarize with this kind of a structure. What we will do is, a moment. You're able to see this question. Define a schema with class student. The details needs to be stored are this one. So forget about defining schema. Say define class student with the following details. Name, register number, semester, branch, CGPA, address with details like house number, street, town, pin, and country. Okay. So now when you say address with details like further things, first what you do is try doing the first part alone, like defining a class with name, register number, semester, branch, CGPA. Then we will say define pages for name, name and arrow. Okay, so you have a class student. It contains name, register number, semester, branch, and CGPA. Messages are accessing name, you need one message, CGPA, year of study, and updating CGPA. So these are the four messages. Define appropriate methods. Okay. What I want to do is by you have seen an example class scenario, define similar way for this. This is your sample. I think you can manage this way. So the question as well as try to write down the corresponding class structure for student.
Sir, the data types are basically like the normal data types that we use in C++.
Yes, yes. In object-oriented programming, whatever you are using, you can use string and other things like Java. That is not a problem. Each object-oriented databases are developed in one of the object-oriented programming languages. Some of them are developed using C++, some of them are developed using C#, some of them are developed using Java. So basically, according to that, the data types will change, but general data types will work everywhere. Are you able to do it?
Yes, sir.
What about others? Others have completed it?
Yes, sir.
So now what we have done is only direct type of variables we have defined. We need to have complex variables also. Inheritance before talking to inheritance. Just a moment. Okay. We'll talk about inheritance and then we'll come back to composite variables because something else we discussed. Okay, inheritance is the same concept what we have discussed in case of object-oriented programming. Same, like you have some features you wanted to extend it with added extra features. So the existing framework you want, but little extra you wanted to add. So in that case, you can use inheritance. Class of bank customer is similar to a class of bank employees, although there are differences. So bank customer and bank employee, if you see, certain features may be same, but certain features may be different. So some variables messages will share and some details they will be having different. Like for an employee, some details may be different ways. For a customer, there can be difference in it. I mean, information can be in a different way. Okay. So in such cases, rather than rewriting, first of all, tell me what is the advantage of having inheritance? Why we should work for inheritance? If inheritance is not there, how we will manage that scenario? We will write two separate classes. But what is the advantage of having inheritance?
We can reuse the same class without
Yes.
and
Code will be
reduce
optimized.
the code also.
Yeah.
Optimize it.
Messages, variables, everything is instead of having two sets, you are having only one set now. So that way it will be optimized usage. So every employee is a person. So employee is a specialization of person. So that means features of person, you are specializing it, you are adding extra features and then making it, that becomes employee. Customer is a specialization of person. So you can have multiple different classes deriving from one base class. That is what we are trying to talk about. So variables messages applicable to all persons associated with class person. So employee and customer will have all the messages and methods and variables defined inside person class available for use. In addition to that, there will be some extra new features you will be adding up. Is a hierarchy is what we normally call that employee is a person. That means it is a specialized behavior of some base class. This is a relation in ER models also. So employee and customer are two categories. Under employee, there is again three subdivisions you have made: officer, teller, and secretary. So officer is an employee, employee is a person, so is a relationship. So the same keyword is what you are using for showing inheritance. That is class person with name and address. Customer is a person. Extra feature what? So name and address will be automatically available. Extra you are having credit rating. Similar way, employee is a person. Start date and salary are two additional features you are adding up to it. And class officer is an employee. So in addition to name, address, which it is getting from person, and start date and salary, what it is getting from employee, it will have, in addition, office number, expense account number. Two more additional features is added up. So then if you look into officer right now defined only two members, two variables, but it gets start date and salary from employee, and it gets name and address from its base to base class, that is person class. This also please note down that example will be useful enough to manage any. We noted it down. Also draw this diagram also. Um, we'll wind up at this. We'll continue with additional features of an object-oriented database concepts and then we'll start practicing few of the questions, how to write the schema for that or object model for that. And then there are few languages which we use, which has a specific structure that also we have to talk, and then we'll jump on to IDB. Okay, so that's the plan. Meanwhile, for the project, what to be submitted for schema or design document and where to submit that message, I will post in few time. Please follow that and then complete by end of this week on Sunday night. Okay, thank you. You can leave now.
So when do we submit the entire project?
That will be after your regular classes. I mean, like the last working day, then we will schedule presentations. That point of time, you will have to do it.
And so do we have to make a report and PPT as
Yes, yes, yes. You have to submit a report, and there will be a presentation where you will be presenting as well as demonstrating your or whatever the code what you have developed. You have to show that. So hold
Okay.
that thing. You have to do it at the end. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.